We're going to have a look at Bitcoin. What can we see? Are there any patterns? And stick around because I'm going to show an interesting correlation and idea forming with both the Stochastics RSI and the RSI.
Hi, I'm Martin. I'm the founder of Captain Crypto's Compass. I'm a trader and a professor at the Financial Freedom Academy. I am passionate about helping you to achieve financial freedom through the art and the gift of trading. I will be providing you with actionable technical analysis and insights on your favorite cryptocurrency projects to help you make better and more informed decisions. If you're ready to take your trading to the next level, you're in the right place.
I've gone ahead and opened up the 1 week Bitcoin chart. I'm currently on the Bitcoin Liquid Index. Now the Liquid Index takes price data into account from multiple different exchanges. So I'm having a look at this weekly chart. And one of the bigger patterns that I can see zooming out for Bitcoin, we can see that Bitcoin has been forming this ascending wedge pattern. We can see here since our bull market tops in 2001, bear market bottoms in November 2022, we can see that we have been forming this ascending wedge pattern. Now, something very exciting that I can see is we have broken above this ascending trend line, and we are currently trying to hold support above this specific trend line. There we can see currently Bitcoin is trading at roughly about $115,000, and this trend line is right at that $115,000. Now, an interesting note here with ascending wedge patterns, it's usually classified as, could be interpreted as a bearish interpretation. Usually ascending wedges break to the downside. So it's interesting to see what Bitcoin does here with this larger move. We will need to just have a look at our volume and to see where the volume is at, because if the volume starts declining, especially when Bitcoin starts reaching these higher highs in this specific pattern, that could be a clue that we could see a larger correction in the future. So this is an idea that I see here, one of the things that I'm looking out for. But more importantly, looking at the support coming in here, I've highlighted in the previous videos, I've highlighted these key areas of support that we were looking at. Now I just want to zoom in here so we can just see what these key areas are. Now, notably, looking at market structure, we've identified these pivot highs to the left. We can see we have pivot highs here at roughly about $108,000, and the recent pivot high at roughly about $111,000. So these areas are of importance. These would be our key support levels for a retracement in Bitcoin. I've also gone ahead and pulled up the anchored VWAP from this last pivot here from $98,000, give or take. And we can see this is this white line over here. And we can see that Bitcoin has come all the way back down close to this anchored VWAP, and we're looking to hold support above that. That is a bullish sign for me at the moment. As long as we can keep above this specific anchored VWAP over here, that would be a signal that we can actually try and re-enter this golden zone and the Fibonacci extensions, measuring from our pivot lows at roughly 74, the recent pivot highs at roughly 112, and the last pivot low here roughly about $98,000. So this gives us this area here, this Fibonacci extension zone between the 0.5 and the 0.618. Now we know from Fibonacci that this is usually a golden zone, that we can expect resistance to come in here at these extension levels. And we can see that Bitcoin did just that. It pushed all the way into this resistance level between this golden zone, this golden pocket in the Fibonacci extensions between the 0.5 and 618, and got rejected. So we're looking to see where support will re-enter Bitcoin now, and a couple of key areas pop up immediately. One would be this anchored VWAP at roughly about $113,500, and then the previous market structure pivots sitting at roughly about between 111 all the way back down to this $108,000 area here. We can see these pivot highs and also the candle bodies. Most importantly would be these last candle body closes and opening over here, candle bodies at roughly about $109,000. So we can expect a potential retracement back into this $109,000 if we break the anchored VWAP at this 113.5. I would want to see the Bitcoin hold above this anchored VWAP, above 113.5. Then we can actually be able to be in a position to push into this Fibonacci extension.
Hey, hope you're enjoying the content so far. Please remember to hit the like button and the subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications.
However, we do have some support levels coming in a bit lower. So support is here. We can see that Bitcoin has quite a lot of support between this 111 and 109, and also the previous pivot highs over here closer to the body candles, and this orange line is the long-term Fibonacci 1.272 extension measuring from the previous all-time high to lows. This would be the previous bull run's highs, starting there and all the way to the bear market bottom at 15.5. That gave us the Fibonacci 1.414 high time frame at about 104. So anything above 104 would still be in this breakout zone for me. And even if we do break the 104, we can see taking our last pivot low, roughly at about the 74,000. This anchored VWAP is currently sitting at roughly about $103,000. So anything in here, we can expect support to re-enter. We're going to take this level to level. We're going to see how it reacts at every single one of these levels, and we do want to see support bounce in on these high probability areas. Now, taking this a step further, I also want to just have a look at the Stochastics RSI and the RSI. Now, let's have a look at the RSI. Now, the RSI is the relative strength index. It measures the strength and oversold or overbought conditions for a specific asset. But we can also use the RSI to spot specific patterns. And that's what I want to do, having a look at the RSI now. So if we just open the RSI here, we can see this downtrend resistance coming in with the RSI. Now, we can see from our previous highs here, we can see the RSI printed a level of roughly 88. The next push, we printed a high of roughly about 78. And this has formed this downtrend line on the specific RSI. And we can see that there's a little bit of bearish divergence here. Bearish divergence meaning that the price is moving higher, but the indicators are moving, creating lower highs. So that could also be a warning sign for us. Usually bearish divergence indicates that something needs to change. Otherwise, there might be a sharp correction in the future. Now, a very important area that I've highlighted with the RSI here would be this level at roughly about the 70 level in the RSI, and it coincides nicely with this downtrend. What we do want to see with Bitcoin is a push above this downtrend to break the bearish divergence and start holding support above this specific trend line. If that happens, that could facilitate a push higher into these next extension targets, thinking roughly about $129,000. Give or take. So we do want to see the RSI actually claim and reclaim and break this downtrend. But at the moment, we can see that the RSI is flirting with the idea of rejecting at the specific resistance zone on this downtrend. So keeping an eye on this, I can see the next support zones is roughly at about 61 area. We can see these pivot highs over here and this pivot low. So there is a possibility that if we do get rejected at this downtrend line on the RSI, that we could see a retracement back into these lower support levels. And that would actually coincide with the idea that we might see a retest of those support zones that I showed you in the previous chart at roughly about $104,000, give or take. So just keep this in mind, keep it in your back pocket. We want to see this downtrend broken. Now, the Stochastics RSI is also going to give us a little bit of a clue with where our momentum is at. And what I have seen here is that the Stochastics RSI on the weekly is still trading above the 80 level, indicating bullish momentum. However, we can see that our previous pivot low sat here at roughly about 75. So what I do want to see here is that the Stochastics RSI is measuring our momentum, and we want to see the momentum stay high above the 75 level. Currently, we've seen the blue line cross below the orange line, indicating that we might see a little bit of a correction, and we have seen that correction, but trading at roughly about 115,000. So with this correction, we want to continue to see the Stochastics RSI above the 75 level to facilitate a continued bullish momentum to the upside. If we do break the 75 level, we can see here that momentum will be on the downside, and we might actually place a little bit more strain on our support levels on Bitcoin specifically. So keep the stochastics on the weekly, mark these levels out for you, mark the 75 level, keep this pattern and structure in mind. But all in all, Bitcoin is still looking positive. We can see that we are still trading well above our previous pivot highs here. The market structure, let me just show you that other chart shows it a little bit better. So we do not need to be too concerned about this specific move. We can see that the bullish momentum is still in play here, but we do need to just keep in mind that we might see a bit of a correction now coming into September possibly. So do not let this shake you out. We will see a realistic resistance at the golden zone, and these are realistic support levels that should come into play within the coming weeks. All in all, keep these levels on your chart. Happy trading, peace and love. See you next time.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this content, hit the like button, hit the sub button, and hit the bell notifications. Also, remember to click the link in the description below to join my mailing list, where I'll be sending you free emails and trading videos, also market report updates weekly to help you stay ahead of the herd. As always, this community would not be the same without you, and thank you from the bottom of my heart. Peace and love. See you next time.